Okay, so you guys know I love a good royal scandal, and this one is a doozy. We're talking about Princess and Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and a supposed Saudi dossier that's got everyone in Buckingham Palace running around like chickens with their heads cut off. Buckle up because this is going to get wild. The story basically goes like this. Back when Harry was falling head over heels for Meghan, the palace did their usual vetting process, right? Standard stuff, checking for debt, criminal records, the usual. But apparently with Meghan, things got a little complicated. See, there were some serious red flags popping up, not just for the palace security team, but for British intelligence as well. I'm talking MI5 kind of red flag. What could a cable TV actress possibly have in her past that would make the intelligence community freak out? Well, according to palace insiders, the vetting process uncovered some major inconsistencies. On one hand, Meghan was portraying herself as a struggling actress, barely making ends meet in Hollywood, that we all know the story. Small roles, game show appearances, the whole rags to royalty narrative. But then the intelligence report painted a completely different picture. We're talking about photos and surveillance data, placing Meghan on super yachts in the Mediterranean, hanging out with Gulf elites and Middle Eastern power brokers. And I'm not talking about just a one-time thing. This was a pattern. Now, Princess, and known for being super no-nonsense and having deep ties to the security establishment, supposedly saw this dossier and went ballistic. She looked at the timeline, the finances, the travel logs, and asked the obvious question that Harry apparently refused to ask. Who the heck is paying for all of this? Because, let's be real, struggling actresses don't just casually float through elite international circles without some serious financial backing. Someone was paying for the travel. Someone was arranging the access. Someone was getting her into rooms where billionaires make deals that reshape countries. This is where the Saudi dossier comes in. The dossier allegedly suggested that Meghan wasn't struggling at all. She was being sponsored. And in the intelligence world, unexplained wealth or unexplained access is a huge red flag. It suggests a potential security compromise. Princess, and being the astute woman that she is, understood that these weren't just random invitations to glamorous party. This was systematic cultivation. It was like someone was strategically placing her in these circles for a reason. The palace security team would have cross-referenced everything. Travel records, financial statements, photos, mapping out her social network, and identifying the common denominators. And what they found was a pattern stretching from California to the Mediterranean, from Monaco to the Middle East, all funded by sources that didn't appear on any tax return. Shady, right? So, and being the concerned aunt reportedly sat Harry down for a serious talk. This wasn't about class or race or royal protocol. This was about national security. She supposedly laid the dossier on the table and pointed to a term used by intelligence analysts: strategic social placement. Basically, attractive, intelligent, socially adept people are sometimes deliberately placed near high-V value targets in elite power circles. Not through crude spying, but through sophisticated social engineering. You get invited to the right parties, introduced to the right people, given access to the right rooms, all because someone believes you can serve a function socially, relationally, or even reputationally. And reportedly told Harry that the photo showed someone who wasn't stumbling into these spaces by accident. She was comfortable. She understood the hierarchy. She knew how to navigate rooms filled with some of the world's most powerful and potentially dangerous men. Her warning was chilling. Harry, she hasn't just been dating you. She's been kept. And people don't keep you around in these circles unless you're useful. But Harry, being Harry, he just wasn't having it. He saw a victim of press persecution, not some kind of international woman of mystery. He famously said, "What Meghan wants, Meghan gets." Which, looking back, is maybe not the best line to use when your aunt is trying to tell you you're being played. So he basically ignored the report, brushed aside the receipts, and walked straight into what Princess and thought was a trap. It's kind of tragedy, really, and wasn't being a snob. She was acting out of experience. She's been a working royal for decades. She's seen all sorts of people try to weasel their way into the royal circle for their own personal gain. She's got a sixth sense for this stuff. And everything in that dossier just screamed red flags. The impossible lifestyle, the golf connections, the strategic positioning, the public persona that didn't match the private reality. It all added up to something way more than just a love story. Now, let's talk money because that's where things get really interesting. Between 2008 and 2012, Meghan was a working actress, right? Minor roles, TV appearances, the hustle was real. She wasn't exactly rolling in dough. I mean, her most notable job was holding a briefcase on Deal or No Deal, and that probably paid like $800 an episode. Meanwhile, these leaked photos are popping up showing her on super yachts in Monaco, hanging out at exclusive parties with Saudi princes and Russian oligarchs. Events where a single bottle of champagne probably costs more than her rent in Hollywood. The math just doesn't add up. Cable TV roles don't fund summers in Monaco. Holding a briefcase doesn't bankroll Mediterranean yacht trips. I mean, a first-class flight from LA to Monaco back then would have cost like 10 grand. Hotels in Monaco during the Grand Prix, $0 a night, easy. Designer dresses, $5,000 to $20,000 an outfit. And we're not even talking about hair, makeup, accessories. You're easily looking at 50 grand for a single week in Monaco. And the photos show that this wasn't a one-time thing. This was a pattern repeated over years and location. So, someone was picking up the tab, someone was arranging the access, and that someone expected something in return. Because as Princess and supposedly told Harry, power never gives without expecting something back. This isn't about romance anymore. It's about transactions. In the world of Gulf elites and international oligarchs, access is currency, beauty is leverage, and discretion is the price of admission. The intelligence assessment probably concluded that Meghan wasn't just getting lucky with a few party invites. The photos span years. It wasn't opportunistic, it was systematic. It wasn't just help, it was support. It wasn't an opportunity, it was an investment, and the financial forensics would have been damning. No bank records showing big withdrawals for these trips. No credit card bills for luxury hotels. No receipts for designer gowns. Which means someone else was paying, someone else was booking, someone else was making sure she had everything she needed to look the part and play the role. In intelligence terms, this is called being handled. Someone with resources handles your expense, your travel, your wardrobe, your access, and in return, you provide something they value. Your presence, your discretion, your ability to facilitate introductions, your willingness to be seen with the right people in the right places. And that's the terrifying question that Princess posed to Harry. What was the return on that investment supposed to be? Okay, so if the yachts were the stage, then Marcus Anderson was the director, right? For years, the media just played him off as Meghan's bestie, this charming Soho House consultant, a loyal confidant. But the palace vetting report, they saw him way differently. Princess supposedly eyed him as a handler. A handler? Why would British intelligence use that term? Well, Anderson was the global membership director of Soho House, which, if you don't know, is this super exclusive private club network. It's like a hangout for celebs, financiers, international power brokers. But his real talent wasn't making cocktails. It was connection. He knew who to introduce to whom. He knew how to make relationships happen that would benefit everyone involved. And get this, in 2015, the year before Meghan met Harry, Anderson pulled off what might have been the most important event of her life before royal, the grand opening of Soho House Istanbul. Now, why is Istanbul a big deal? Because it's where East meets West, where European sophistication meets Middle Eastern money. It's where deals get done that never end up in any official record. Sources are saying this wasn't just a party. It was a marketplace, a carefully curated environment where talent met capital, where ambitious people got introduced to wealthy patrons who could open doors. The Dossier probably flagged that Meghan met a specific network of Middle Eastern financiers and Gulf power brokers at this event, the same network that would later be connected to those yacht photos. The timing is what makes the Istanbul connection so important. It happened in 2015, just months before she met Prince Harry. It was like the culmination of almost a decade of careful cultivation within these elite circles. By then, she would have been totally integrated into the network. The dossier probably flagged that Meghan met a specific network of Middle Eastern financiers and Gulf power brokers at this event, the same network that would later be connected to those yacht photos. The timing is what makes the Istanbul connection so important. That it happened in 2015, just months before she met Prince Harry. It was like the culmination of almost a decade of careful cultivation within these elite circles. By then, she would have been totally integrated into the network. She would have known the rules, the expectations, how these relationships worked. Istanbul was probably her graduation, a signal that she was ready for a bigger stage, that she could handle higher profile connections, that she knew how to play the game. And then here's the kicker. Harry and Meghan supposedly met on a blind date in London in 2016 set up by a mutual friend. Guess who that friend was? Marcus Anderson. I mean, come on. So after Princess and supposedly dropped this bomb, you can imagine the palace went into crisis mode. I'm talking controlled chaos. Buckingham Palace put out a statement calling its claims totally false and irresponsible. But notice what they didn't do. They didn't threaten legal action. They didn't call her crazy. They were really careful with their words. Why? Because Princess and isn't some random outsider or a tabloid journalist. She's the Princess Royal. When people do those non-denial denials, it usually means they're worried about getting proven wrong. The legal stuff is complicated. If and actually shared confidential information about royal operations without permission, did she break any laws? The palace lawyers are definitely looking into it. Meghan's team has been more aggressive, calling its claims complete fantasy and desperate attention-seeking. But again, they're attacking its credibility instead of denying the specific allegations. Both sides are being super careful with their wording, leaving room for interpretation. Charles supposedly called emergency meetings with his advisors and lawyers. They're trying to figure out exactly what and how to contain the story, and what to do about Meghan and Andrew, because things are already blowing up online. The usual palace strategies aren't working.